Welcome back, everybody. When you say the phrase couples therapy, most people think about serious relationship crisis, but experts believe that couples can benefit from therapy at almost any point. In fact, couples therapy can be a key part of a healthy, ongoing relationship. Here to tell us more is licensed marriage and family therapist Claudia Alabiso. It's good to see you.
Thank you.
Why did you want to be a marriage therapist?
That's a good question. I think for me, having relationships has always been a really important aspect of my life, and I have always saw dysfunctional relationships around me, and I felt like I could really be of service helping people connect and helping people have better means of communicating and connecting.
So we think of, or we see on TV and in the movies, couples who are sitting at the opposite end of the couch and they're in total crisis, and we see that. But what you're volunteering to us is this information that, no, at any point, we could benefit from a relationship check-in.
Absolutely. I mean, it's not uncommon that people come into couples therapy in crisis, but really it can be a very proactive thing to do. As soon as you start seeing you're having difficulty in your relationship and certain arguments that are kind of recurring or certain themes, it's good to just come in and have a professional give you some opinions, give you some feedback on how to really communicate so that it doesn't become a bigger issue. Because once it's a bigger issue, that's when a lot of the resentment comes in and it can get pretty bad.
Well, and there has been stigma about this, right? If
Yes.
you're in couples therapy, there must be something terribly wrong.
Absolutely.
And in fact, we can try to push that aside and just address patterns of behavior, as you mentioned. So what happens at therapy if somebody's sort of afraid of going because they think it's going to be crazy in there?
Yeah, I mean, to your point about the stigma, I really think that we're under-equipped generally to handle a lot of the relationship troubles that come up. I mean, communicating is not an easy task, especially when you have major life stressors going on.
Yeah.
So when people come into therapy, really, we try and take a chance to have both people say their sides of what's going on, but it's more of an opportunity to identify the patterns of relationship communication that's happening between them. So we're really not necessarily having people fight and having people just go into their normal patterns. It's sort of really intervening and having them recognize their patterns and make real changes together. So
and you can actually offer the words, the tools, the exercises, that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
How do you know if you're clicking with a therapist? If you go in to talk to somebody, clearly this is going to be an important relationship and it's got to be comfortable. What should you feel from your therapist to know that this is a good fit?
That's a really good question. I mean, I think as with any relationship, you got to have chemistry, right? And that's a hard thing to really pinpoint, but you've got to feel at ease to some degree. But really, feeling not judged is incredibly important because therapy is an opportunity to really lower your defenses, to really get to the core of your emotions, to really try and say things that are hard to say. And so you've really got to feel a non-judgment from your therapist and also feel like they're effective. You want to be able to feel after a few weeks, after a few sessions, that things are actually kind of shifting and changing. So that's something that's very important.
That's interesting. So if you don't feel like you're making progress, maybe that's not a good fit. And that doesn't mean counseling doesn't work. It just may not be happening in this particular way. How difficult is it for you as a counselor not to judge?
Once you start to really get into just looking at the patterns and getting really objective about it, it's not too difficult. I have a lot of empathy for my clients. I'm not immune to the difficulties that happen in relationship dynamics. So I come from a place of understanding.
Right.
Yeah.
And you mentioned, seeing poor relationships as you were growing up. I think that does give people some insight. It may not be the happiest thing to experience, but you can draw some strength if you come from a family where things didn't go well. There is a chance to make things better. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, despite our best efforts, sometimes we just sort of replay the patterns of how we were raised and what we saw growing up.
Without thinking about it.
Without even thinking about it. And so coming into therapy is a really great chance to identify those patterns and really make a change and change the legacy and make a difference to our kids and just to ourselves and our life. And I think that that's a very powerful thing we can do. Yeah. It just takes a lot of awareness.
Over the course of a very long marriage and having a lot of friends, I've seen it both ways, where either the wife or the husband wants to go to counseling and the other person does not. Is there a way to kind of overcome that hurdle?
Well, yes, if one person's really resistant, I would say it's still important that the person who's willing to come in does come in for the counseling, because over time, hopefully it'll help the other person feel a little more comfortable coming in. And at minimum, then that one person is getting the support they need to make the changes they need.
Right.
Yeah.
Are there times when couples therapy turns into family therapy?
Absolutely. Especially as a family therapist, I really specialize in seeing as many family members as possible so that we look at the dynamics going on and the systems that are in play. So if it's just a couple's in, but really it involves their parents or the kids or friends, whatever it is, we try and get everyone in. And amazingly, change happens pretty quickly once we can really get everybody who's involved in the office and really looking at the dynamics.
And what a breakthrough and a pleasant thing if everybody's rowing together in the boat, you know, the whole family. Are there books, are there places we can go where we can kind of explore this topic a bit before we go to make an appointment?
There are lots of online resources. I would say, you know, there's not one specific book I would recommend.
But just search around a little bit.
Yeah, search around, be willing to dig around.
Try to get comfortable with the idea and then make that phone call.
And just be willing to talk to other people about it. You might be surprised that more people than you think are actually going through it themselves.
Absolutely. And that's maybe part of this, is just to know you're not alone and things can be fine and your family can be intact and you hit a rough spot and you get some help, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Simple as that, we hope. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure.
More New Day after this.